So a few of you, welcome to the community briefing. My name is Gregory Sneed. Today is March 3rd, 2022. And today we have Dr. Karen Beard, who will be sharing information about our health, fighting nicotine addiction, tobacco control, and things that can help you live a more healthy life. So she'll be joining us shortly. Today, let me make sure I have this on silent. Today, our host, Crystal Mitchell, is enjoying a day of recreation with friends and family. So this morning, she went hot air ballooning, right? What was that? There's a Fifth Dimension that a song about that. Up and away. Right? Yeah, my beautiful balloon, or something like that. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. So she won't be joining us today. And then our other guest, our host, Stephen Turner, is also on, but is without audio and video today. So it's just me and Robin. So we'll be holding it down. Robin Billups is our co-host, and she'll be the moderator for today. So thank you for tuning in and checking us out. My name is Gregory Sneed. The name of my company is Lifesaver Financial Services, where I believe that people feel better about their life when they feel better about their money. I help my clients keep more of the money they make, and I do that through life insurance, long-term care. I am now going to be doing final expense. So that's I'm about to contract with a company to offer that in addition to my practice. I also do financial coaching, and I teach financial literacy training. So thank you for joining us. And now let me turn it over to Robin. She will introduce herself, talk about what she do and does, and then we'll hear from Dr. Beard. We'll do a bio introduction for her, and then we'll get it started. So welcome.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Greetings from Robin Billups with the Billups Group. I have a consulting practice working with seasoned companies who are interested in doing business with corporations and the government. I spent 30-some years in the banking industry. I've been in the financial services world. However, I also spent time in supplier diversity, and I call it supply chain inclusion because I think that's exactly what it is. I want to welcome all of our standing members who come every week who support this organization and support this program. And we're looking forward to kicking off our Women's History Month with a great presenter, Dr. Karen Beard. And I'll give you a little bit of the background on her, and then I'll turn the mic over to her so she can get started. Dr. Karen Beard, Karen J. Beard, we were just chatting a little bit ago. She's a Florida girl. She's originally from Florida, grew up in Clearwater, Florida, relocated to Leesburg, Florida, still has residence there. So she's bi-coastal. Activity-wise, she was in a band when she was in high school. We talked about how our parents raised us and the wonderfulness of the time period that we grew up in, where you didn't make decisions, your parents made decisions, and you followed instructions. She attended the University of New Hampshire as an undergrad. She completed her undergraduate work at Ghana University, which is a Jesuit college. She went on to get her master's degree from the University of South Florida. And finally, she got her PhD from Argosy University. And again, you may want to correct me on the pronunciation. Dr. Beard, I'm just reading a little bit of her bio, is a member of the African American Tobacco Control Leadership Council, the National Tobacco Cessation spokesperson for Amplify, a statewide coordinating center whose mission is to prevent and eliminate tobacco and nicotine use in the African American and African immigrant communities. Dr. Beard is the community principal investigator in this 2-year study regulating menthol cigarettes, African American attitudes toward a flavored tobacco ban, being conducted in Los Angeles County. She has partnered with the Los Angeles County Public Health Department to build the capacity of 10 community-based organizations in South LA to offer culturally competent, tobacco cessation services. Culturally competent tobacco cessation services. Dr. Beard holds a doctorate degree in counseling psychology and is a certified tobacco treatment specialist. She helps people who smoke overcome the challenges of living without nicotine. I love this tagline. We don't die, we amplify. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Dr. Karen Beard, and she's going to educate us on what she's doing, and we're going to open it up for questions in a little bit. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Robin. And I'm so excited to be with you all this morning on this webcast. And so you gave a little bit about who I am, but I'd like to tell you a little bit about how I came to be in this work. My husband was a smoker. We met, we were married for 23 years. Now, when we met, he told me that he began smoking at age 15. And he began smoking, he was smoking Newports. And during the time that we were married, he had lung cancer 3 times. The first time he had lung cancer, they removed half of one lung, and I don't remember the exact lung, but one half. And then the second time, they removed a third of his lung, and he continued to smoke, you know, and that just kind of mystified me. It was like, you know, how could you keep smoking, you know, when you've gone through such, you know, the type of operation that he had gone. Now, I know he was intelligent because he married me, right? And so that wasn't the problem. But, you know, I did the wifey thing. I thought I could help him and did the wifey thing, but I found that I did all the wrong things. You know, I cussed, I fussed, I cried, I threatened, you know, I tried to shame him and guilt him into giving up nicotine. And he never did. And so he died November 25th, 2013. And, you know, honestly, being transparent, I had a lot of guilt around that because, you know, with my background in counseling and psychology, why wasn't I able to help him? You know, that's what I kept asking myself. And then I just discovered that although I knew counseling and psychology, I didn't know tobacco. And so what I did in 2014, I went to Florida State University and I became certified as a tobacco treatment specialist. So I like to say his death was kind of like a call on my life to do this work that I'm doing as a cessation treatment specialist. And yes, Robin, cessation is a hard word to say in succession, but you did a good job. So anyway, that's how I came to do this work. So tobacco cessation and people who smoke. One of the questions that I get asked all the time is, you know, why do people continue to smoke? You know, they know it's bad for them and people continue to do it. There's no simple answer of why people continue to smoke. But I'll share with you one thing that I've discovered. The tobacco-related diseases that we talk about, you know, the lung cancer, the COPD, you know, all those horrible diseases, they show up so far in the future that when you're talking to someone now about if you don't stop smoking, you know, you're going to die, they do what we call delayed discounting. You know, okay, well, that's going to be way down there. It may not happen to me. I know people who smoked for 50 years, never got those, you know, diseases, COPD. And so I believe the fact that it takes so long for the tobacco-related diseases to show up, that people have a false sense of security when it comes to their health. The other reason people continue to smoke is that, you know, if in your environment, there are people who smoke, you know, it's more difficult. So if your friends and family smoke, it's going to be, you know, harder for you. Some people use nicotine to manage negative emotions. For example, you know, stress. A lot of people say, oh, I smoke for stress, you know, to relieve my stress. Some people smoke because, oh, I was tired, you know, and nicotine made me, you know, gave me energy. So there's no one simple reason for why people continue to smoke. But I like to tell people that no matter what the reason is, what we have to do is we have to show compassion and empathy because, you know, truth be known, you may not smoke, but I guarantee you that you have something. For instance, for me, it's sugar. You know, I love sugar. So I go through the same types of mental, you know, gymnastics when I go to the grocery store. Should I get that cheesecake or should I not? Go ahead, get that cheesecake. You know, you worked hard today, you deserve it. So people that smoke, so I'm just saying, you know, show compassion for people who are struggling because the struggle is real. And several reasons. Nicotine is a psychoactive drug, just like, you know, cocaine or some other drugs. We just don't treat it that way. And then African Americans prefer menthol cigarettes. The tobacco industry has targeted our communities with these cigarettes. So I kind of say 6 in one hand and half a dozen in the other. Yes, they target us, but we don't have to participate by purchasing the cigarettes, but that's another conversation. So the combination of nicotine, menthol, and a lot of people smoke when they, you know, drink coffee. So now you got caffeine. So you have all these substances in your body that your body becomes accustomed to. So when you stop smoking, you're not just adjusting to maybe the nicotine, not having the nicotine, you're adjusting to the combination being broken down, you know? And so again, that makes it challenging. So nicotine dependence is a chronic relapsing condition. I don't like to call it a disease because I don't know any diseases that you can quit. You just don't say, oh, I'm going to quit cancer or I'm going to quit. So I call it, and it is described that way by the DSM-5, it is a chronic relapsing condition. But we don't manage it that way. We don't treat it that way. We look at it, some people feel that, you know, you voluntarily start smoking. Well, I would disagree with that in a sense, because most people start smoking when they are adolescents. The youngest I've heard of was age 5, usually around 13 to 15. And, you know, teenagers don't have the maturity to make decisions about these things. They usually start because they want to be cool, you know, or they want to belong, you know, those kinds of things. And how many of you remember the Cool Jazz Festival? You went to the Cool Jazz Festival. Yeah. So, you know, back in the day, I thought that meant, oh, you're going to be cool. I didn't know that Cool cigarettes were sponsoring the Jazz Festival. I didn't put the two together. And so the tobacco industry has a way of just kind of sneaking into your life. And by the time when you start using the products, by the time you realize that maybe I shouldn't be smoking, it's usually, you know, well, it's never too late, but you have a dependence on it. So it's going to be more difficult for you to give up the nicotine. And so the work that I do, I have started to focus on building the capacity to offer cessation services. I am focusing specifically on African Americans in SPA 6. SPA 6 means Service Planning Area, which is South County, South LA. Because I believe to answer that question, why people continue to smoke, we also as professionals, we have to show humility and just admit that some of the things that we're doing is not working. You know, if 70% of African Americans want to give up smoking, but only 3% successfully do so, you know, I'm gonna start looking at me and what I'm doing and not, you know, that person. And so currently with the partnership with the the Public Health Department, I'm conducting a learning collaborative. We've recruited 10 community-based organizations to go through the collaborative. It's a 2-year commitment. And the whole purpose of the collaborative is to develop a culturally competent toolkit that we can use to work with African Americans. Overall, the prevalence of smoking has decreased in the general population, but unfortunately, in low resource communities and African American communities, there's still a high prevalence of smoking, and especially when it comes to our women. So we have some work to do. And so I'm so excited about this program because it's going to give us an opportunity. When I say us, those people working and serving SPA 6, an opportunity to develop interventions that will work specifically for the group that we are serving. So rather than a top-down approach or coming in and telling the organizations what to do, I like to say sometimes you're the teacher and sometimes you're the student. And so in many of these cases, we might be the student because we have to learn about the people that the organization is serving. And I highlight that because many programs are not developed that way. Normally we do our research and then we write our programs and then we say, here, go do this. Well, this learning collaborative is different. We are looking at the members of the collaborative, the 10 community-based organizations, as experts, in that area, and we are going to provide the technical assistance to make sure. When I say we, Amplify, to make sure that we develop interventions that will be effective with the population in that area.
I have a couple of questions. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about Amplify and then roll that into one of the community-based organizations that we may be familiar with that you're working with?
Okay. Well, Amplify is a statewide coordinating center. We focus on African American and African immigrant communities. Our mission is to get tobacco products out of these communities. And so we provide technical assistance. And so some of the organizations that we're working with are the MLK Health Care Center, the Public Health Department, housing, the housing. And we also have small organizations like the Men's Cancer Network, the Cynthia Perry Ray Foundation, and the Aaron Community Cultural Center. So we have from large organizations to small organizations, and we're functioning as a learning collaborative. It's a cohort experience, and these organizations are going to go through the 2-year process together. And my vision is that they will bond and support each other in providing these services. Right, so that when the project is over, our involvement with partnership with the health department ends. Of course, we'll still provide technical assistance, but we don't want the services to end.
Right.
Yeah, so we'll be teaching them how to develop interventions to work with the people that they see in their agencies.
Now, when you talk about them working with the people in their agencies, is it separated by age group, or how does that work?
Well, the organization, for instance, the Men's Cancer Network, they were founded to address prostate cancer, but they address all cancers. And so that community-based organization may decide we just want to provide services to men because that's what we're already doing. I spoke with someone from MLK this morning, and she's doing more of a general cessation class. And so she's looking at adults, male and female. And I'm hoping to bring on an organization who serves children because we know that, again, adolescents start smoking in between 13 and 15. And so sometimes, kids don't want to listen to adults.
Right.
So if we could train peers to, that embrace the tobacco cessation movement and willing to be like a peer counselor. That's what we want to do.
Now, my other question to you is, you talked about this culturally competent services, and I get that, in that every group, every culture has its own mores and need to be addressed. What's different about these culturally competent toolkits versus just a general population?
Well, the framework that we or the philosophy that we work from, for instance. Because we're working in the African American community, we're looking at what's called trauma informed. Mm-hmm. And what that means is that we know that just everyday living for some of the residents in, SPA 6 area, they have challenges, excuse me, challenges that can cause stress, or challenges that what I would normally recommend to a person who smokes to do may not work for them. For instance, one of the strategies that we use, of course, is avoid the places where you buy your cigarettes when you're trying to quit. Don't go and take another route home, or just don't go that way. Well, what if you take the bus? Yeah, you can't avoid it. What if the store is in your neighborhood? So we have to be open to not presenting canned approaches, but make it specific for the community, and also individualized for the person. So when I say culturally appropriate, competent, we look at those kinds of things. And it's not just using Black people on your marketing materials, or the colors, the red, green, and Black. It's more than that. It's deeper, than that. The way we our beliefs around certain things like NRT, nicotine replacement therapy, or our beliefs around going to the doctor. And so we have to make it specific. The interventions or the strategies we use, we have to make it specific for what we're dealing with. And those are some of the things we deal with.
Dr. Beard, is there a curriculum or a paper or what have you that the medical doctors, especially primary care doctors, is there information that they receive either while they're in training or once they get out of school? I know if you're connected to MLK, that it's a hospital. As a matter of fact, I sit on their Dream Advisory Council, and they do a lot of community outreach and wonderful work. But is there some way we can, because I know when people go to the doctor and the doctor asks them, do you smoke? It's a 50-50 chance whether they're going to tell the truth or not, right?
Like I do with sugar, but no, that's not You didn't hear that from me.
Exactly.
I don't think doctors get very much education around tobacco cessation. I do believe that it's mentioned, especially if it's a lifestyle doctor, lifestyle medicine. And so that's one barrier to delivering the services to people who smoke. And then, doctors are pressed for time. They don't have a lot of time to. And in many ways, I don't think it's even appropriate for them to go into counseling or coaching, but they can do a screening and then make a referral. And I think, Robin, another deterrent to providing cessation services is that the reimbursement is poor. I think physicians can, but don't quote me on this, but I think that they can, to spend 10 minutes with a patient talking about their tobacco use, they can bill like $14. So why would you if you could bill more? So we have some structural changes.
I have one or two last questions, and then Greg has some additives that he'd like to share. Give us a couple of things. You said early on that we need to be more compassionate and have empathy for folks who are nicotine addicted. I appreciate that. But what if you have someone in your family, what would be the 1 or 2 or 3 things that you would suggest that we as family members do, in order to maybe lead them or guide them to an organization such as yours? And then let me back up and say this. When did the cohort start? When will they graduate? And when will the services be available to the public? Maybe that's the first part. And then I ask the 1 or 2 tidbits that you can share.
Okay. We started December 15th. I just completed recruiting the 10 community-based organizations in February. So we have a loose timeline of during this month of March, we'll be doing the onboarding of our organizations, and then we'll start our training in April. Okay. And we're using, and so they will complete the training during the first year. Mm-hmm. And then we hope, the second year would be delivering, the services. Mm-hmm. And so it will probably be an iterative process. We'll develop the interventions, then we have to self-correct or whatever. So that's a loose timeline for what we expect. And what was your second question?
Just some tidbits that you can share, when we're talking to our own family members. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I learned, and one of the things that I've always regretted, is that I did too much talking. I should have did more listening and that, ask questions rather than make statements. Now, I think because my husband had gone through so many surgeries, I was coming from a place of fear.
Yeah.
The fear of, him having another surgery and the possibility of him not making it. The fear of sitting in a surgical waiting room for 6 to 8 hours, that was just really hard on me. So I did all the wrong things. So one thing I would say to family members is that educate yourself on nicotine dependence. There's a lot of information out there. And then ask questions. I wish I had asked my husband questions like, what is it about smoking that you like or that you enjoy, or how can I help you? Mm-hmm. What would support you in giving up, nicotine? Are you willing?
Do you ask the question first? Do they want to?
Well, I don't ask if they want to. Mm-hmm. Because that's kind of like a direct question to, I don't believe in, I don't like to ask why questions because it can, put people on the defense, and so I don't ask. I just kind of look for signs that maybe this is a good time to say, maybe broach the topic.
Got it.
I worked with a guy who his roommate was going to put him out because he was smoking. And he said, if he doesn't stop smoking, I'm going to, put him out. And would you talk to him? And I said, well, if he wants to talk to me, I'll talk to him. And so I was surprised he did want to talk to me. I talked to him. And right off the bat, he told me, he said, I'm not giving up my cigarettes. I lost my wife, my house, my business. The cigarettes are the only thing I have left. And so I respected that. And I said, that's fine. That's fine. I said, I just want to know from you, what is it like living with a person who doesn't smoke?
Right. Good question.
So, I didn't want to alienate him. Mm-hmm. I wanted to give him an opportunity to be heard. And I also wanted to learn from him. So I would say to family members and friends, don't assume that you know.
Yeah.
You may not know. I did not recognize when my husband was trying to quit. He was eating a lot of candy because when you smoke, cigarette papers are cured in sugar. Mm-hmm. And sometimes the tobacco is too. So when you smoke, you may pick up a little sugar addiction. And so I didn't recognize that he was battling, but he was eating, what's that, Milky Way candy bars. And I was like, stop eating all that candy. I don't want a fat man.
The queen of sugar, right? The queen of sugar telling them to stop eating candy. Okay.
Hey, thank you for pointing that out. So anyway, so educate yourself, be willing to listen before you, Stephen Covey says his fifth principle is seek to understand and that first, and then be understood. Yes. And so that's the position you have to come from, because realize that when people smoke again, they develop a lifestyle around it. So when I ask you to stop smoking, I'm not just asking you not to put the product in your mouth. I'm asking you maybe to change your whole lifestyle. Who you're going to hang out with now? What you're going to do when everybody else goes out after Thanksgiving dinner to have a smoke on the patio? What are you going to do? So where are you going to go, to avoid smokers? Because you've been hanging out with smokers. So it's a lifestyle change that can be, threatening. So what we suggest is that instead of saying, stop smoking, we try to identify one piece of the habit that we could work with and start, simple and small. That's less, threatening.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. And so that's the approach we believe will be more effective.
Talented. Mm-hmm. Dr. Beer, this has been, when we were notified that you were going to be coming on, I went to your website and I put your contact information in the chat box, and I strongly suggest everyone take a look at that website. She has a beautiful 3-4 minute video that she does. And there's some excellent stats that are included in that PowerPoint presentation that's at the top of the page when you go to Amplify's website. But you've given us some good information. You've shared with us your personal experience, and you've also shared with us your academic experience. I'm going to ask Greg to come on in because he had a couple of things that he wanted to share. But you've opened my eyes. My brother has been smoking since he was about 14 years old. And I was just home in St. Louis with him. He drinks as well, and he wasn't drinking that day, but that he had to go. It was like dark 30 minus 12 degrees outside, but he had to go outside and smoke because he's respectful from that perspective. He's just not going to smoke anywhere, but he's going to get his smoke in, But you've given me some things to think about that I can share with my family around helping to support his. I won't say cessation, but at least some things that we can do and say that are more compassionate. Thank you. Greg? Go ahead. Go ahead. Please go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, he's willing to respect the home. So you can first compliment him on that and say, I really appreciate that you respect us. What if you could not do more, but you have to find something else to end that sentence with? What if you could maybe not smoke every day?
Yeah.
And so just keep in mind, keep it small.
Yeah.
Something that they
Baby
feel
steps.
that they can do.
Okay. Thank you. Greg?
Thank you very much, Dr. Beer. That was very valuable and important information. We, in our community, we want to take care of our health. And, it's important, especially if you're a parent, you have kids, doing things that are going to limit your lifespan are very important. I was fortunate. I came up in a household where my dad smoked, my mom smoked, my sister smoked, and I never smoked. Part of that was it was just bothered by it. Quite frankly, I grew up in Brooklyn and around a lot of Jamaicans, and they smoked other things. So I had a science teacher in high school, and we did a number of things. And one thing that we talked about were some of the stuff that was in tobacco and nicotine. I'm a cigar smoker. Don't smoke it often, but it's a tobacco and it's a nicotine. The challenge with cigarettes is that there are chemicals added to cigarettes that are not in the native tobacco. So the tobacco contains nicotine. Right. And I looked up some of the things that are in there, which so the compounds that are added to it. So acetaldehyde, There's formaldehyde. There's sugars that are added to the tobacco, levonic acid, ammonia compounds,
Arsenic.
All right. So there are a lot of things that are deliberately added to the tobacco that goes into a cigarette to add, addictiveness to it. So their flavors, they get added. Spearmint, coconut. The menthol, what it does is that it provides some soothing to the throat. So now you can inhale deeper.
Inhale
so that
deeper.
The tobacco is going deeper into your lungs because you're not feeling that burn as much. And that was targeted to the Black community. So you mentioned that about cool and that. So it's very deliberate.
I like to say, Greg, that it's a fatal attraction. People begin, you think it's a great thing, when you're adolescent, but it's really, if you saw the movie Fatal Attraction with Glenn Close and Michael Douglas, you see how that turned out. And it's a Trojan horse. You think one thing is being delivered, but something else, you're getting something else. It's kind of like suicide on the installment plan.
And it's been shown that some of these chemical additives are more addictive than opioids.
Right. Now, keep in mind that the nicotine is what addicts you because it affects your dopamine and your endorphins, what your brain produces. And so you can get accustomed to, and so once you start smoking, your brain will not manufacture the dopamine and the endorphins because you get it, the cigarette, the nicotine is mimicking that. And the other thing to keep in mind is that those chemicals that you just talked about that we all could probably find in our garages somewhere, they are the culprits that cause the tobacco-related diseases. It's those chemicals that destroys every organ in the body. There's no organ in the body that's not affected by those tars and chemicals. And if I may say just one other thing too, we talk a lot about nicotine, smoking and how it destroys our health, but it's even broader than that. It can destroy a relationship. There is some research that's showing that the divorce rate for people who smoke in relationships with non-smokers is increasing. But I also look at it from a political standpoint. When when the tobacco-related diseases show up, like COPD, emphysema, and especially lung cancer, it affects your mobility. It affects your stamina. So standing in a line to vote is something that you probably or may not be able to do. So it can affect your civic engagement. And, in some states now with them, I think Georgia is one, wanting to repeal or take back mail-in votes. That's huge in terms of the democratic process. If you're too sick to stand in line to vote, there's a political impact for our community.
Right. I sell life insurance, and I have working with a client today. All right, 46-year-old male, and $500,000, 20 years would be $65.12. If he's a cigarette smoker, ready for this? It jumps from $65.12 to $317.24 a month. So obviously the life insurance companies had figured out the impact of what tobacco has on your mortality, and they factored it in. So there's the cost as well, in addition to your health, if you want to protect your family. I mean, that's.
And guess what?
Yeah.
Greg, some employers won't hire you if you smoke because they don't want you. Well, they think that you're going to miss a lot of days, or their insurance experiential rate is going to go up. For instance, for workers' comp or whatever, the insurance is the health insurance. So you know, there's some controversy around should employers be doing that, but some are. They won't hire you if you're a smoker. You know, so there are a lot of repercussions from which might seem to some an innocuous habit. But again, nicotine is the only thing that it can destroy every organ in the body. I've seen eyes, you know, reproductive organs, and we talk a lot about death, but there's also the disability as a result of being a smoker. And you've been in I used to sell New York life insurance for New York Life. And so, yeah, I know what you're talking about. But yeah, it is not your friend. It is a fatal attraction.
I think people miss out on, and I know we've got a couple of questions, but you know, if the nicotine is bad in itself, and then the tobacco companies are adding additional chemicals to the cigarettes, which I believe is even worse than the nicotine itself. Emily, you had something.
Well, I just want, you know, I started smoking when I was 8 years old. Yes, I was doing it and hanging out with the kids, and you know, that was before they, you know, monitored. You know, buying cigarettes, unfortunately. So you could go, you know, the parents used to send you to the store to get me a pack of cigarettes kind of thing. Well, I started smoking when I was 8 because, of course, it was cool, you know, the cool. And then you got to the Moors because they were long and skinny, you know, so you wanted that. But, you know, what made me stop is when I realized I had this habit. And one day when I'm a kid now, I went into the closet, I rolled up a paper sack and was trying to smoke a paper sack in the closet, and then lit myself on fire.
Oh my God, that's not good.
No, it wasn't good. But
I'm glad you shared that, because I was in fact going to ask if there was anybody in here who used to smoke and stopped and wanted to share. And lo and behold, there you come with that.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, I didn't smoke for a very long time, but I started smoking, and I was hanging out with the wrong crowd, and you know, and we thought it was cool. So
congratulations. That is awesome. We applaud you for that, because that.
Well, I smoked, but I was like Clinton. I didn't inhale, so it was easy for me to quit. And I quit when they went up to 75 cents. I thought that was too much. Back in the 70s, that was a tank of gas. I said, I'm no, that's too much. So, but I love hearing these stories about people who have quit. And I just encourage you to share those stories because with others, because we usually hear how hard it is and whatnot. And it is difficult, but it's worth it. You know, what is your life worth, you know, to you?
Yeah.
And so if you don't smoke, don't suffer from the bystander syndrome. Just stand back and say, that's their problem, because it affects us environmentally.
Yes.
When people throw down cigarette butts, you know, and then the cities have to pay to pick it up, that's economically that it is affecting us. It affects everybody.
Yeah. Dr. Beard, this has just been some excellent information. We invite you to come back and give us some updates, especially once your cohorts get started. And I can't pronounce his name properly. Namush mentioned in the chat box that one of his friends had his first child, and the wife made him go outside to smoke. And because he had to go outside to smoke, he stopped smoking. And so there are ways that people lead themselves to not smoking. My mom smoked for about a year and a half in her 30s. And that's when cigarettes was 33 cents a pack, you know, back in the day. But we really appreciate the information that you shared. We invite you to become a part of our family. We invite you to come back and give us some updates, and know that this information is very, very critical, and especially the pieces that you shared with us on how to make the approach with others, you know. And we probably got about 10 more minutes to go. So we're going to ask, Constance is going to give us an update, just a quick update from the center. And then we're going to ask Dr. Vicki Mays has come on board. Well, and I know she has some good information for us. Constance? You're on mute.
Get off.
There you go.
Good morning. I think it's still morning. Robin, you're always such a gracious host.
Trying.
Always a gracious host. So my name is Constance Anderson. I'm the president of the Center by Industry. And the center right now has a on-demand platform that allows us to meet clients where they are. So that on-demand platform has 44 topics that are available to a small business, an aspiring small business, a business that's looking for funding, whatever. And there are 40 topics there, and all you really need to do is go to our website, which I will put in the chat. Go to our website, pick the topic that you're interested in, and we will send you a link that will allow you to take those classes when it's convenient for you. And that is what we are naming meeting the business owner where they are. And then the other part is Lendustry, our parent company, is opening its doors to lending. And we are producing something that I have been trying to do all of my career, and that is making it possible for reasonable rates to acquire contract financing. And it's something that I know small businesses have been wanting for a long time. And when we look at other services or other organizations that you can go to get financing for your contracts, it's usually really expensive. And so what I've asked my team to do and Lendustry to do is to develop something that's not as expensive. It may still be expensive, but not as expensive as it would have been in an accounts receivable world. So that's pretty much it. So we have on-demand platform, over 44 topics. It includes business plan development, QuickBooks, pretty much everything I could think of that I think would support a small business. Most of the classes are 1.5 hours. There are a few that are 2 hours. And then we have business advisors available to work with you as well as you develop through the on-demand. If you find that you need one-on-one, you have my number, you have the website, there's contact information there, and we'd be happy to support you in leveling up and growing and sustaining your small business. Hi, Bianca.
Thank you, Constance. That's good. That's great information. And what she's talking about is factoring is very, very expensive. So to be able to get your contracts financed, that's a major step towards what I call next generation business services. So our medical correspondent, Dr. Vicki Mays, is joining us today, and we know somebody needs to put something on mute, but we know that she has something to share with us, and then we'll be wrapping up today.
Yes. Today, I'm also sharing screen, but I start off with good morning, family. I hope everybody's doing well as they get richer by, joining the briefing. I want to ask you to really think about something today. And what I want to ask you to think about is that there's a lot of discussion about mask wearing. And some businesses will decide no masks indoors. Some businesses will decide that they will continue. In our community, what I want you to remember is that we tend to have more immunocompromised individuals. We tend to have individuals who have healthcare issues such that they will need to be a little bit more protected over time. So I want you to just think about what policy that if you have a brick and mortar facility that you want to have so that you are inclusive of everyone in our community being able to come in, visit, shop, buy, sell, whatever is going on. This was a study. There's several mask studies that have been coming out over the last several weeks. And what it shows you is the effectiveness in wearing what type of mask. I've been seeing a lot of people kind of going back to they're wearing a mask, but it's much more the gaiters and the cloth masks. So this was just a study that just released. Fabric masks, about 56% effective. Surgical masks, about 66% effective. And then you see what happens when we move up to having an N95 or the KN95. So for those of you who, even when people say we don't need to wear masks, if you're choosing to wear a mask because you're needing to protect yourself, think about the best mask for you to wear. So that's all today, family. I just want to make sure that we start thinking about that general advice, may be different than the advice that we need to take into account in our communities and among us as a group. So if you've got a Black business, you may need to think about making sure you're inclusive in thinking about health issues.
This is excellent, Dr. May. As usual, you come in and share with us information that we really need. And to your point, this idea, the idea of not wearing a mask just doesn't resonate with me. You know, I have a compromised immune system. I have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And so again, thank you for sharing this wonderful information. We want to thank Dr. Karen Beard for her exceptional information. And as we all know, we are celebrating Women's History Month. You know, it's Women's History Day every day, just like it's Black History every day. But, you know, they've gotten these designated months. So this month we will have all of the presenters this month will be females. And again, we want to thank you. We want our hats off to Crystal Mitchell as she's taking a little time off, and our hats off to Stephen Turner, who was having a little bit of technical difficulty. But again, Stephen books our guest. And I want to thank Greg Sneed for, you know, having my back and keeping me straight. Greg, you want to close us out?
Yeah, I was actually, Steve, you can send in the chat. I was looking here. Who's our guest for next week?
Yeah.
Do you have that?
We have a male. It's Mark Wilson, the president of the Coalition.
Mark Wilson, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Coalition for Responsible Community Development. And, you know, again, this is one of those organizations that's been out there a long time fighting the good fight to provide affordable housing in our community. And his director of development is a personal friend of mine. So again, he's put together an exceptional team. So he's going to represent his mother next week, and when he does his presentation. And then the following week is going to be Roz Pennington, you know, the owner of the townhouse and on the board of directors of the BBA. She's going to be providing us with an update about what's going on with the BBA, and then giving us a little bit more insight on how the townhouse was able to pivot and keep their doors open. She's done an exceptional job. And what you guys don't know is she's my cousin, and we actually didn't know each other. And we met in college, but we didn't know each other, that we have familiar relations until about 4 or 5 years ago. But again, you know, here again, these are these businesses in our community, serving our community. Again, I want to thank and really, really show our appreciation and gratitude for the folks who dial in every week, who are here with us every week to ensure that we have an audience. And the mission of the community briefing is to bring you information that you can implement. You know, you can hang up and go immediately and implement the information. And then, as Steve has put in the chat box, you know, this is a nonprofit organization, so we welcome any donations or any kind of a sponsorship and or grant information that you have in order for us to keep this going. Greg? And
you can go to our website, communitybriefing.com, and there's an opportunity there for you to donate, and anything will help. $5, $10, a couple grand, a couple million, whatever. Also, March 31, to end the month of March for Women's History, will be Jackie Broxton, excuse me, and she's the executive director of the Biddy Mason Foundation, the charitable foundation.
Yeah.
And she's going to be sharing with us what the foundation is doing in helping young women to sort of exit the foster care system. And she's doing a fantastic job with raising money. They now have a location, a home over on 24th Street. And so she's doing fabulous things. So she's going to join us on March 31st, so Thursday. So we've got lots of guests, lots of things coming to you. Dr. Beard, thank you so much for joining us today. Our usual attendees, Dr. Mays, we thank you. Constance, Ms. Becky, Tina, Danger Man, Andre.
Emily.
Yeah, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. And the recording will be available.
Michelle.
Yes, will be available afterwards. And thank you again for tuning in.
You guys, and all I ask is that we be prayerful. You know, there's a lot going on in the world. And we not only do we have to pray for our own country, but we have to pray for the globe. Because at some point in time, we're all connected. In some way in time, we're all connected. So I think prayer changes things. I'm a walking miracle. You guys have heard my story. I am a walking miracle, and prayers do change things. And let's pray for each other. Let's pray for our community, and let's pray for the globe, because these faces, these brown faces that I'm looking at, my opinion, we are the surviving race. Look at history. Look at history. We've carried this thing, and we will continue to have to carry this thing. And so again, I just ask everyone to pray for each other and pray for us as we move into this week and get ready for it, and see you next Thursday. Until then, stay safe. Okay. Wear your mask, wash your hands.
I'll come back now.
Everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Be well.